Alrighty, here I come. Hello. Yes, and welcome to The Way I See It. Little bit of a shock maybe for some of you who's watching this for the first time. Let's be frank, this is not what you expected. And this is exactly why I did it. My name is Z, also Zahida van der Voort, and this is The Way I See It. And the way I see it right now, this is probably a form of dress or presentation that is slightly uncomfortable for some of you. Look, and I've explained this before in my previous videos, and as an introduction, I am a Muslim, I am a practicing Muslim, and in the privacy of my own home, I choose to wear what is called customary, possibly a hijab or a scarf. Right now, at this time when I'm recording, this is a few minutes before the afternoon prayer has to be made. So basically, I'm ready, waiting to make one of the 5 prayers that we are required to do every day. And I thought, you know what, I still have to record my video for this week. And instead of doing it the way I used to, or the way I usually do, I decided to actually do it in this outfit, so to speak. I'm at a loss for words what to say there, but anyway, be that as it may, so let's be frank. As I said, you know, this is probably a presentation that would make some people feel terribly uncomfortable because it's not how they usually see me. And you know, this is exactly the way society is as well. You know, we look at each other and sometimes we judge what we see, and especially in the world today, as Islamic people choose to actually wear their hijab. Me, I'm not quite ready there yet, and I know that I will be, inshallah. That means God willing. But I mean, many women today choose to wear the hijab willingly. And those who has a lack of understanding or fear what they see, they think that these, you know, women that wear their hijab or chooses to wear this does so because someone tells them to do so, or they've been forced to do so. I have someone that I know quite recently whom I met, and she's young. She's beautiful, a very beautiful woman who has this beautiful straight hair, flawless face, absolutely classic beauty. And she wears an hijab, and she covers her hair, and she looks absolutely gorgeous with it. She has hundreds of scarves that she ties beautifully. And it's quite a decision to make, because I know that people treat you differently when you wear a scarf and when you don't wear a scarf. Personally, at times I do wear one, and at times in public I don't. And I have seen the way people treat me differently. I actually get more respect from a certain sector of society when I wear my scarf than when I don't. And I for example, you know, if I travel by public transport, and you have these guys in taxis or public transport calling for passengers, if I'm not in my scarf and I'm dressed casually, and they'd call you over, for example, and try and hawk you the business, and they'd, you know, just casually, come here, we're going to town, let's go, are you coming in, are you coming, kom auntie, sit nou ry, gou ry, you know. However, the same person on the same route at the same time, the next day, I'm the same person, but I have my scarf on, exactly hawking for business. But when he sees me, he treats me differently because I have my scarf on, and he would say things, hello auntie, are you going to town with me? Auntie, are you coming in? And yeah, sure, I'm, you know, auntie, being called auntie because I'm at that age. But the fact that he treats or speaks with me with more respect because I have my scarf on, clearly, you know, for me, that just shows how people treat you differently when you do have a scarf on. In this case, it is the opposite. It is more respectful. And whereas the wave of Islamophobia that goes across the world today is exactly the opposite. People disrespect you because you are wearing a scarf, or people disrespect you because you are a Muslim. And I find that such a shame. There's 2 cases right now in North America, both in Canada and in America, where 2 women who went to court to support a family member in terms of whatever the family member was in court for. One was told by the judge to remove the headscarf, and the other one was refused to let in at the courtroom at all because they had on a headscarf. Can you imagine? I mean, isn't religion, isn't it your God-given excuse the pun there, but isn't it your right to wear your scarf or choose how you dress? And then shouldn't court be separate and not enforce their personal law, or the constitutional court should be different to a religious law? And this is exactly what I'm afraid of is ever going to happen in our country. And while you have the Bill of Rights and the human rights and the dignity and your religious freedom to wear, in South Africa right now, as a minority, Muslim minority, we are 0.5% of the population in South Africa. Minimal, 500,000 Muslims stretched across the entire South African continent, a large part of them being based in the Western Cape. And we as Muslims enjoy extremely religious freedom and religious rights in more ways than one. As a secular country, I can go in the Western Cape practically everywhere, and it's halal for me, except for those who sell bacon and pork. But there's halal options available to me everywhere in the Western Cape. The adhan, which is the call to prayer, goes off quite loudly during the Ramadan month, and really only during those months, the Ramadan and Easter coming up right now, is that there is the slight rumblings in the non-Muslim community. For example, we'll get some people posting things online or in newspapers in protest. Why should hot cross buns, which is a Christian tradition, hot cross buns and pickled fish, for example, for Easter that is being served on Christian tables, why should that be halal? It's not a Muslim thing. And then, for example, also during the Ramadan, when the call to prayer is slightly turned up because, you know, it is quite a holy month and we want everyone to get up early in the morning, then perhaps those Christian neighbors in the burqa, those traditionally a Muslim neighborhood, but the white people who had moved in recently in the last few years in that area would then write disgruntlingly, why should their peace be disturbed because of the increase in the adhan? And I'd hate to think that, you know, me going to work in my scarf, which is totally acceptable right now in all, as far as I know, in all spheres of the working environment in South Africa, both in banking institutions, in private and public and civil practice. Muslims are allowed to go to work like this and have no discrimination, or it's not against the human resources, or there's no policy at work. But I would hate to think that one day that could shift and that someone else feels uncomfortable with me wearing my scarf, and within 2 weeks I'm told that I can no longer wear the scarf because the policy has changed or because someone has complained about. Can you imagine? That is something that could really happen in this country if it is happening in democracies like in Canada and in America, and even in France, where it has been banned from wearing a scarf in public and government places. I can't imagine. Right now, I don't wear a scarf. But if I decide tomorrow to wear a scarf, can you imagine if they told me the next day that I cannot and I should not and I must not be allowed? How would I feel? Outraged, of course. Because wearing a scarf is part of my identity. Wearing a scarf makes me feel a Muslim. Wearing a scarf, donning it, is part of who I am. It's a choice that I make. And that's getting back to my friend, who is this beautiful woman, and she wears an hijab. And I asked her the question, I said, what made you make the decision to wear this scarf? I mean, it is such a personal decision and quite, for some people, they say disempowering, and for other people, an empowering decision. And I asked her, so how did you, I mean, because, you know, it's quite a big thing. And she said, you know what, I'm a young mother, I'm a woman of a young son, and when he came of age, and I think it was about 13 or 14 years old, the son was, we never discussed, we call it mukallaf. He came of age, and he said to her, and she's quite short, and her son was quite her same age, and he said to her apparently a story of, Mommy, I want you to be my mommy, because she wasn't wearing a scarf at the time, and she asked him to expand. And it was quite amazing. The story that she expanded to that is that without her scarf next to her son, she could be seen as his not his girlfriend, but as his equal instead of his mother. And he knew that wearing a scarf or her donning a scarf would separate that friendly relationship, not change it, but would just have other people and himself see his young mother as his mother with a scarf. And for her, that was a defining moment. That's something that her son wanted from her and which she willingly did. And, you know, in her case, it's both an empowering story and also such an amazing act of love that this woman did for her son. She then donned on the scarf, and you know, for some people, donning the scarf, and in her case, she hid her hair, her beauty, and stuff like that. And you would think that, you know, now it makes her less attractive to certain men. But what it did, it also put her in a category with other men that looked at her and thought, wow, what a beautiful woman, because she was wearing a scarf. And these are complexities of wearing the scarf and wearing the hijab, and the complexities behind the veil. Most people don't know or don't understand exactly what happens behind this veil. And there are more to us than just the veil. And it's the same in any society. Please look at us beyond what you see. Engage with people. Try to find out, you know, talk to each other. And this is the reason why I am doing this. I am trying to go beyond what you see. We need to start pulling off the plasters. We need to go underneath the layers to discover the truth about each other. We need to start talking. We need to start engaging with each other so that we can get to know each other. Let's start talking to each other instead of about each other. So let's start talking. Let's be frank and keep watching. I'll see you on the other side. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you.